So we're gonna review today the movie Backdraft 2. Just finished watching that movie, and actually is a sequel for the people that don't know from the original movie Backdraft. This movie was one of the best firefighting movies. They got really good advisement from the Chicago Fire Department, the Baltimore Fire Department. Uh, Even though, of course, there's it's super. The backdrafts are really do not behave as they're showing us in this movie, and a backdraft is, for the people that don't know, it's generally when the oxygen is consumed in a fire, the fire tends of stays what they call in a dormant position, and then the dormant position kind of just goes. And when there's a source of O2 running inside a room, then the fire just ignites with like kind of an explosive trying to get all the air in or all the oxygen in to consume the flame. I'm sorry for that. So having said that, this is obviously a Universal movie. And the Universal movie was the one that made the sequel combined with another small production study. Let me just start saying that the scenes of the fire look very CGI. Nothing like Backdraft that they had all this money invested in this new. So the movie kind of starts kind of in the Chicago area where, in the first movie, Sean was the little boy from where Sean was, Bull's kid. And you can see it, Bull was Kurt Russell, who was playing the McCarthy brother, the older one. And Steven was, the smaller sibling. I don't know since when they changed to red and blue and the LED lights or the emergency lights in the Chicago Fire Department, but this was very odd for me. In the first one, they had the red and clear lights, which is generally what the fire trucks have nationwide, except some cities, and that depends on the regulation of each city. But for the majority of the time, they're actually the majority are red and clear. And obviously, we have in this movie also, playing the brother, Baldwin, again in his paper or in his role as the older uncle of Sean. That Sean was just a little kid in the first movie, and now he's grown up with a lot of issues and abandonment issues about his dad dying and blaming his younger brother and all this trauma. The first movie had really good technical advisement, and also the special effects, even though, as I said, the backdrafts were not that believable, it was a little bit more believable, or at least the plot of the story with the special effects and the drama was much better. All this is lack in this movie. So if you like a lot Backdraft 1, this definitely doesn't even come close to it. It's like writing one Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, the best roller coaster right now in 2020, and then going into a kiddie park and probably riding one of the little kiddie coasters, the Woody Woodpecker at the peanut section. So that's how different and abysmal this movies are. Not only on the plot, not only on the movement, but also in the special effect. This movie uses a lot of CGI, a lot of footage that is not accurate. You can see them going into fires without the protective gear. The smoke doesn't even look real in the fire scenes. He's playing the role of this investigation firefighter, which he is kind of a cop combined with a firefighter in the investigation unit. My fire department does not have that for sure, but I don't know, maybe some fire departments have that and yours. So it will be a nice comment if you guys can let us know how common is that to have armed firefighters on the investigation force. He in this movie is always carrying a gun, and I found it kind of bizarre, really, for it. Anyhow, also the fire trucks, you can tell that they're old fire trucks. They try to get like the 17 squad. It was, the old movies kind of battalion, was the Battalion 17. That was the company. And here, of course, they have to revive that. He is stationed at the uh, Battalion 17, Unit Company 17. Um, all everything that you see in this movie is very slowed pace. It's not like the first movie that they portray a lot the life of the firefighters. This one is a little bit more the kind of social interactions between him and his investigation. So it's kind of like a CSI episode, but I will say worse. And of course, here we have, you know, Mr. Sutherland playing again Ronnie, the guy that kind of burned everything up, and the guy that made everything, that he was the uh, jail for arson, and he loved the fire, and he gave life to the beast, as he called. Well, here's the same plot. He argues here with, Bull's son. Um, they actually, interact in really odd conversations about fires and somebody that's starting the fires, and they want to know how. So the trauma is the same. And I'm not going to be a spoiler alert, but at the end of the movie, something very similar happens that happens in the first movie. So you can kind of guess what it is, because they, of course, need the drama, but with less emotion. The fire scenes, as I said, are very CGI in this movie. They are like, you can tell that, the cartoonish kind of sees more real fires than this. Actually, this will look more like a fire, just a couple of candles and a little bit of smoke stacking out. And then, oh, here comes the firefighter. Woo, we need to get in. This actually looks more real than their fires, because their fires are really a lot of CGI on it. They do rescues on top of the risk zone. They arrest somebody and just leave it there, like on top of a roof that it's on flames. So I think for the first movie, they really got the fire department backing them up a lot and kind of telling them the drills, kind of telling them the security reasons. Here, all of that goes out of the window. There's no protective gear, no safety measures before they go into a building. There's no command post on the fire. Everybody can just come in and scream, and they will expect him to do what he says just because he's the chief investigator, and will not go to the incident command unit and try to work it out with the chiefs that are, in command of the fire that is taking place. And, the units, as I said, they don't look like real units. They don't look like real Chicago police units. Firefighting units. The engines look like they're old engines that were just, fitted with LED lights. Their responder cars and investigation cars are very outdated. The scenes and security measures that they're putting on the fire scenes are totally not accurate with reality. And there's a lot of drama. This guy has anger issues. This movie should have been called Backdraft Anger Management. And see, again, those blue and red lights, I don't know, but as a firefighter, it's really, really strange for me to see blue and red. That generally is reserved for law enforcement, and red and clear use and has been, the kind of lighting for fire departments and paramedic services. But as I said, I don't know if they changed this policy in Chicago or the movie is just this inaccurate. But this could be a perfect example of how inaccurate the rest of the movie is. The ranks in their uniforms do not correspond to the person that is supposedly acting. There are no chains of command. There's nothing structured like in the first movie. So this guy goes out and drinks with his firefighting unit. I don't know, but in my department, if somebody goes out and drinks or has a little bit of alcohol with his uniform on, that could get him out, like fired. That's definitely a policy that it's not tolerated in my fire department. As I said, too many inaccuracies of this movie. A lot of CGI. He's supposed to be investigating their fire. This looks more like he's in Disney. And he just blew out from a ladder and fell off in a garbage bin or in a garbage dumpster. And his uncle just comes and laughs at him, doesn't see if he's injured, if he, just flew out from a building, so doesn't check if he's okay. He doesn't even ask if he's okay. He just wants to talk to him. So that's how bad and inaccurate and not out of reality scenes in this movie. So here we have another scene where they're actually calling them to respond. He's going to respond in his personal own vehicle with no lights and siren. Do you imagine that traffic, how late this is going to get? But look at that smoke. Does that look like a real fire to you? It looks super CGI. And that's actually the end of the movie. So in conclusion, I will say, did I like this movie? Do these movies compare to each other? Definitely not. This is like comparing peaches and screwdrivers. It's definitely nothing close. I wouldn't even say apples to oranges because they're fruits. I mean, here the only thing in common probably is that one was a movie, a blockbuster. The other one was a DVD release 20 years almost later. Well, not 20, but close to it. And a really, really, really bad movie. So if you're a firefighter, you love firefighting movies, my advice is just see it as curiosity, I will say, but don't expect that this comes close to this. This movie is really a legend. This movie was really good. The actors were excellent. And of course, has a lot of unreal scenes, a lot of also like Bull, going into fire scenes without his protective gear as well. But definitely not what we're seeing on this Backdraft 2. So in conclusion, I wouldn't buy this movie. I wouldn't, watch it again, I will say. This is not a movie that I'm interested in watching it again. And the plot is not an easy plot. It's very complicated, very overdone, a lot of dialogue. So if you like action movies, this movie definitely is not for you. And it feels like a bad CSI kind of episode. So that's it. Look at that truck. Looks like a phony firefighting truck. All right, guys, that's my impressions on this firefighting movie. If you have any comments or if you liked it, or I would like to know. And I guess I'll talk to you later. See you guys.